As we always say, we need you to be in your tornado safe place. That means the basement or the lowest level of your home. Try to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. Try to stay away from any sort of windows as well. So this is the area that we're watching closest. This is going to be right near Bridgewater. Let me take some of these things off West Bridgewater. I'm going to zoom in and look at some of this rotation with you. So this is going to be right along, let's see here. This is going to be right along 106 and Route 26. And again, it is moving due east towards East Bridgewater on 106. So that is going to be the area that we're most concerned with. These line of storms, they do have a history of producing damage, and there was a storm confirmed, a tornado confirmed in parts of Connecticut. So we have to take this very seriously. I need you, if you are in the area of West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, I'm going to zoom out the map and we'll get a better look at things. Stand by on that. Plymouth. So again, this is the area that we're watching closest, near Brockton, just to the south of Brockton, near Bridgewater, moving towards Hanson, Halifax, and eventually towards Marshfield and South Duxbury. I'm going to put a track on this once again so we can see some of the areas that are potentially impacted. This is moving really fast. This is moving at about 45 miles per hour, so it's not going to take long for this to be on top of you pretty quickly. So if you live in the path of this storm as it is tracking due east, if you are in Pembroke, 8:50, so about 15 minutes from now, in Marshfield, by about 9 o'clock, let's be in our tornado safe place right now. Again, this line has a history of spinning up really quickly, so we have to watch this really closely. Again, I want to zoom in and see some of the areas that this is currently impacting. Yeah, we can really see some of the rotation on this storm right now as we zoom on in. So just to the south of Brockton, I'm going to focus on, it's almost like two separate areas of rotation that we're watching at the moment. We do have this internal chat with the National Weather Service, and they say that this is a tornado warning that is radar indicated. They see the rotation on radar, and so that's why they have issued that tornado warning. This is going until, this goes until 9 o'clock in the evening. This was moving east at 45 miles per hour, and we can see as we zoom on in, definitely some rotation there just to the south of Brockton. This is going to be moving to the south of Whitman near Route 18 at the moment. So we have Route 28. We have Route 14 and 18. There's 14 right there, there's 18, and we can really see that couplet of rotation, again, just to the southeast of Brockton. Now, this is a line of storms that we really were watching closely all afternoon and evening. There was that confirmed tornado in Connecticut, so these storms do have that, they have enough energy and they have enough spin to produce these spin-ups. Just to the east of Route 28, just to the south of 14, moving due east south of Whitman. So if you live in Whitman, I want you to be in your tornado safe place at the moment. The safest place to be in a tornado is going to be in your basement, in the lowest level of your home. If you don't have a basement, put as many walls in between you and the outside. We have this little graphic that helps us out. And if you have time to get to the basement, try to grab a helmet or a blanket and avoid any sort of debris potentially hitting you. But I want to focus on the radar. Let's see if we can get some updated stats on where this potentially is as the computer continues to update. So this is, again, a radar indicated tornado warning. This is moving due east at 45 miles per hour. And we can see that the good news is, I think overall, the rotation kind of broadening out a little bit, which sometimes happens in these type of storms. But we still have some couplets that we have to worry about. Let me flip over to this radar product. Not as definitive of a radar signature as we saw even 10 or 15 minutes ago. I still want us to be in our tornado safe place if we live in Whitman, if we live in Pembroke, Halifax, and even tracing out towards Marshfield, Duxbury, Brant Rock. If you live in those areas, Kingston, right along Route 3 or near Route 3 in Plymouth County, this is racing along at 45 miles per hour. It's not going to take long for this to be sort of on top of you. So we want areas just to the due east of this bright shade right there, even if there isn't a tornado with this, it's still going to be associated with some really strong straight line winds. And straight line winds can do just as much damage as tornadoes can as well. So Pembroke, Hanover, right along Route 3, again, due east of the bright shaded pink color there, I want you to be in your tornado safe place. Let me take a wider look at some of these storms. These are storms that have been racing through the Berkshires, through the Connecticut River Valley, through Worcester County, and now they're almost exiting the area. And with them exiting the area, we should start to see some clearing, but there is that tornado warning in Bristol and Plymouth County. I'm going to zoom in and check this out with you. Yeah, the rotation on this is starting to broaden quite a bit, and I'm still concerned about potentially some straight line winds with this through the Pembroke, Halifax area, and we'll get some route numbers so everyone can be aware. There's going to be Route 27 there, 106. We have Hanson, Whitman. This is going to be to the southeast of Whitman, to the south of Hanson, some of the worst of the winds at the moment. So the National Weather Service still confirming, or still issuing that tornado warning until 9 o'clock. Sometimes what they do is they go through and they see that this storm is cycling a little bit, maybe losing a little steam, but it also could gather some strength along the way too. So right along Route 27 near Hanson, just to the south of Hanson, racing along. This is going to be in Pembroke very quickly. We can give a little time on that one. Let's put a time tracker on this. So again, it would be in West Duxbury by about 8:50 or so, 8:49, Marshfield by 8:55. I want you to be in that tornado safe place now. We've been watching this alongside the National Weather Service for the last couple of hours. We've been in the newsroom with Ken McLeod and some of our producers. We've been watching this very closely, and we've seen this system cycle, showing some rotation, then losing that rotation, and back and forth, back and forth. And so the reason I say that is, although it is showing maybe some signs of broadening that rotation, it doesn't take much to potentially tighten back up once again and drop a tornado. This would be right along Route 27 near Hanson. I'm going to take off that tracker once again so we can take a look at this. There's Route 27 right there near Hanson, just to the south of Hanson. Let me zoom out so we can get a fuller picture of what we're looking at the moment. And yeah, once again, not seeing that same rotation that we even saw just a few minutes ago. I'm going to take this back a little bit so we can all see. There's where the National Weather Service warned on this. And just so you can see some of the comparison, you see the really tight couplet, the winds going away from the radar, the winds going towards the radar right there. That's what we call the tornado couplet. But then as we go a little bit later in time, it's starting to lose a little bit of its rotation, but potentially gain some of that forward motion. And as it gains that forward motion, I mentioned it doesn't take much to cause issues, whether it is a tornado or whether it's straight line winds. So at the moment, it's looking like more of a straight line wind event, which can cause the same amount of damage. If you are in Pembroke, if you are in Halifax, I do want you to be in your tornado safe place. Again, some of the routes that are potentially involved here, we have Route 36, there's 27, there's 58. This is going to be just to the south of downtown Hanson. Those are the areas that I'm most concerned about at the moment. So to recap, this is a line of storms that started in the Hudson River Valley, moved through the Berkshires. We have been tracking it all evening, and now it is starting to exit the area. If you live in Boston, you hear that thunder, you see that lightning, very vivid, you hear the rain that's falling over you. This is to the south of Boston. This is where we were watching potentially some of the worst of the storms, and they still had some ingredients that these storms could tap into for some instability, some spin in the atmosphere. And so if you are in Hanson, near Route 14, near 27, if you are in Pembroke, if you are near the, let's see here, Brantville area, those are all areas that I want you to be in your tornado safe place at the moment. The National Weather Service still holding true to that tornado warning that they issued at 8:31. These are storms that are just racing along. Let me put on our radar so we can see what we're looking at. This is a different radar product. Probably those of you that are weather weenies like myself, you probably are used to seeing this type of radar product. Let me reset so we can see what we're looking at here. And there's the line. You see how strong that line is. A lot of thunder and lightning to the north as you go north of Marshfield, but even lagging back through Bridgewater, still seeing a lot of thunder and lightning. This would be the edge of the storm that we're most concerned with. Right through here, that sort of bowing line, and we would be watching right about there for the potential of that tornado. So let me flip back over to our product here. Still not great rotation on here. And so, yeah, still want you to be, as we always warn, we're going to be on TV as long as there is a tornado warning in effect. And even if there isn't a tornado warning, there's still some damaging wind that is moving through Plymouth County at the moment. In fact, if I were to query this, we could see that we're seeing wind anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour in this shade right about here. So this is going to be moving into Marshfield, Duxbury, Plymouth over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on where you are. And if you live anywhere that has those trees that surround you, you want to make sure you're on the inside of your house, away from windows. If you have a basement, want you to be in that basement. That is going to be the safest place to be. Sometimes we get those stories. It seems like once or twice a year, a tree falls on a house and unfortunately injures people. We want to try to do everything we can to avoid those type of injuries. So be in that tornado safe place, even if there isn't a tornado currently issued. Let me zoom out and we can once again take stock of where we are. There it is. Yeah, that tornado warning still in effect until 9 o'clock for Bristol and Plymouth County. Although, basically, Bristol County, you are now in the clear. If you're tuning in Bristol County, you can come out of your tornado safe place at the moment. This has now shifted into pretty much all of Plymouth County. So we like to put you in your tornado safe place, and we want to let you know when you can come out of your tornado safe place. And at the moment, Bristol County, you are now safe to go ahead and come out of that tornado safe place. Just not seeing the same velocity scans, the couplets that are indicative of potentially some dangerous tornadoes, but I am seeing those straight line winds that we have to really worry about. So if I were to trace this out once again, Duxbury, it's going to be knocking on your doorstep in a matter of just a few minutes. You're talking 8:55 or so, if not a little sooner than that, to move into Duxbury. So that is what is happening now. I am also joined by Ken McLeod. Ken, I know that you and I have been kind of talking about this for quite a long time.
Well, we've been talking about it for probably the last 45 minutes or so, and I know that you indicated that you were watching those couplets as they were rolling, and a couple times you thought it was right on the verge of them going ahead and issuing a warning.
The National Weather Service has shown great restraint this entire evening. There were some really intense couplets that we were watching, you and I, very closely. They pulled the trigger on that tornado warning, 8:31. There was that couplet that was very noticeable, but it has since sort of dissipated from there. But that being said, as you and I have talked about, straight line winds, you've covered plenty of these straight line wind events that they can do just as much damage.
We had one in Framingham just Tuesday night. So
exactly. Yeah. So we do want you to still be concerned if you are in the Pembroke area near Halifax, moving near Duxbury. This is moving due east at 45 miles per hour. Let's watch some of the, so the area shaded in that deep pink, right about there, that is going to be the biggest concern for us. It's just to the west of Route 3. It's going to pass to the north of Kingston and eventually towards Duxbury. So let me see.
Jacob, what were the ingredients that you saw forming this afternoon that really got you concerned?
So we had really high humidity values, and when we have those high humidity values, it allows the cloud base to be quite a bit lower than on a normal, maybe summer day where we can see the tops of clouds way up there. And so tornadoes, they really want those low cloud bases. We also had plenty of spin in the atmosphere, what we call helicity. So that's another atmospheric ingredient. We have CAPE, which is energy product of the atmosphere. And sometimes we can get all of these together, but unless we combine them and these storms tap into them, we don't get tornadoes. And now we are seeing that in Connecticut. We were talking about it yesterday, that was an area that had the most ingredients for a tornado. And it looks like, the National Weather Service will go to Connecticut and potentially confirm a tornado in the eastern side of the state. We also, in this area, this is the same general storm system, and so we had those same ingredients around here.
Right, and you saw that possibility when the tornado warning was issued for the Windsor, Connecticut area this afternoon. You were watching the same line, and I know you were watching very closely what was happening in Medway when we got to right after dinner time.
So this is the same storm that moved through Medway. Same line, yeah. So I will zoom out and we can see this how it cycled back and forth. So let me zoom out here. And what we're watching for is the deep shade of red versus the deep shade of green. And when we trace this back, we can see that this has had, I'm going to take this all the way over to right about here. And although there's not that deep shade of red here, there is a little notch in the line. And sometimes that's all it takes. That's sort of what happened in North Brookfield on the 16th of this month. Just a little notch. All it took was 1 or 2 scans. This radar is sending the beam out every minute or two. And as it gets that scan in, we would look for that notch. So I thought there could be a tornado there. And then as this moved a little bit further to the southeast, there it is, showing some of that tight rotation right about there. And then eventually where we are right now. It's certainly broadened out. It's certainly still packing some really intense wind. I'm going to zoom in and see if we can see some of the areas that are being hit by this wind at the moment. So this is going to be north of 44. There's 44 right there. Plimpton, Kingston. There's a pretty good slug of wind heading south of Pembroke, right along Route 3. I think we had a shot of Route 3. I don't know if our director can cue that up. Going south on Route 3. A lot of people traveling, whether it's Cape traffic, I'm not sure, but Route 3, a busy destination for sure. The expressway, if we could pull up that expressway camera and just see. All right, still a lot of people going south. So this, in the foreground, is the expressway south, potentially driving kind of into this storm. So if you have friends or family that are potentially driving into south on Route 3, you're going to want to let them know that they're kind of driving into a tornado warning potentially. So let's go back to the radar if we can. Still watching it really closely. Just not seeing the same sort of rotation that we saw even 20 minutes ago or so. But here at WBZ, we stay on the air as soon as a tornado warning is issued, and we'll make sure that you're safe on the other side of these tornado warnings. So as we zoom out again, I'm going to just show you where we stand with some of these storms. We still are getting the flash flooding. I said this yesterday, that I think overall, when we look at the grand scheme of things, flash flooding is going to be the most impactful thing that we deal with today. It has affected Boston. We've had 3 flash flood warnings in effect off and on. We had Lowell, another big city, get multiple flash flood warnings. And we've had quite a bit of rain. But with the tornado warning that is in effect at the moment, I'm going to zoom in and show you. This is now almost right along Route 3 that we're seeing some of the worst of the wind.
Jacob, I guess if there's a little piece of good news out of all of this is an area that has not been saturated with rain nearly as much as the central part of the state or the northern part of the state. I mean, if this kind of rain up in North Worcester County is a problem right away.
Yeah, so whether it's a tornado or whether it's straight line wind, when you have so much rain in the ground, it doesn't take much to topple trees and cause damage, right? And so, Ken, you're absolutely right that if there is a silver lining in all of this, it's that the ground can absorb a little bit more rain with this. But, if we're talking 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds that are currently moving through Duxbury at the moment, I'm not sure any amount of or lack thereof of rain would help us out. So through South Duxbury at the moment, route through 3A and 3, the heaviest of the strong winds moving through there. So this is an area, obviously very busy, Duxbury. If you're on Route 3A, maybe you're listening to WBZ radio, and you're traveling south on 3 or 3A, near Kingston, near South Duxbury, near Duxbury, I want you to just take stock of where you are. The strongest winds right now are between Duxbury and South Duxbury, right on 3A and to the south of South Duxbury. So I want you to just not drive into this storm. That's the worst thing you could do in the event that this actually is containing some really strong winds. Let me zoom out once again so we can take a full stock of where we stand. And we will show you the full radar at the moment. Still plenty of rain yet to go. And the interesting thing about this storm is a lot of these storms early were traveling from west to east. And then pretty quickly, this storm actually started having a pretty distinguishable southern track to it. So it was, let's say, over Walpole and then dipped south all the way to Foxborough. And now it's starting to take more of an easterly track once again. Again, racing along at 45 miles per hour. Torrential rain through Marshfield and Scituate. Watch the flooding threats there through Scituate and Marshfield. Those towns, as Ken mentioned, can absorb some rain, but when you get 1 or 2 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, it's not going to take much.
We know that they dropped Bristol County now, right, from the tornado warning. What are they looking at? They're looking at the same radar that you're looking at. What are they looking for now to try to decide, okay, we can lift this tornado warning or we can't?
Yeah, so basically, just as we want to warn you to go to your tornado safe place, we don't want you to huddle in your basement or in your tornado safe place through the end of this storm. So we want to release people from that as quickly as we can, just as quickly as we want you to get there. So what the National Weather Service is currently watching is short-lived kind of spin-ups. There is a radar through Logan Airport. And I'm going to pull that up on my phone and take a look at that, because sometimes different radars see into storms a little bit different way. And with the radar being so close to this, maybe it's seeing something different. So I'm just going to take a look here and see right over. Yeah, I think that we still need to be concerned about this radar right here, this area, I should say, right here, along 3 and 3A. That is going to be the best chance of any sort of damaging winds at the moment. So let me get out of the way. There it is right there, Duxbury. There's 3, there's 3A kind of looping around. I also want to look at, so this is the radar, and notice how some of these lines here, there's going to be like a little notch there, a little notch there, sort of a little notch there. Sometimes what we can get when we have these lines moving through is some very short-lived kind of spin-up tornadoes. Again, we kind of saw that in North Brookfield on the 16th. Let me move out of the way here so you can fully see the picture. So it still has the potential of some short-lived kind of spin-ups. We did hear of some reports of some damage in Easton, so we'll have to watch that really closely. I believe Easton was just before the tornado warning was issued, so there could lead some credence that this was a tornado on the ground as they did issue that warning. But looking at the, we're now approaching the 9 o'clock hour. We've been on TV now for the last 25 minutes or so.
And even after 9 o'clock, Jacob, I mean, we have a severe thunderstorm warning south and east of this area, right, that continues on until about 9:45.
Correct, yeah. So regardless of if there's a tornado warning or not, this is an area that is going to get probably some severe weather. The ingredients, they have yet to be tapped into with these storms. So areas like the Upper Cape, as you go into parts of Barnstable County, you do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Now, it does look like the National Weather Service out of Boston let the tornado warning that was in place for Plymouth County expire. So that is the good news. Still, though, want to watch, be very careful in the event that you did get some damage in your neighborhood, live wires, dangerous, that sort of thing. But for now, it looks like our tornado threat has passed. Of course, here at the WBZ Weather Center, we'll cut in and keep you safe anytime a tornado warning is issued. We'll have much more coming up on WBZ News at 11, but for now, I'll go ahead and return you to your regularly scheduled program.